I want to kick off today's show talking about these wrestling news stories because, quite frankly, they are really big and I think they're a relatively big deal. So, I actually want to kick things off with the NXT call ups. A lot of people have been wondering what is the reason for the NXT call ups. Robert Stone, aka Robbie E., you guys might remember Robbie E. from TNA, he was actually talking about this publicly. And, obviously he does some stuff backstage with WWE, but he's also an on-screen talent for the WWE. And he said something that was very interesting when speaking to 10 Count Media. Basically, it got brought up about these NXT call-ups, and he was saying that basically holding a talent back who is clearly ready does them a disservice. Whoever's in charge and sees someone that they're great, why wait? Every day that goes on, people are getting older and time's going by. So let's get the ball rolling sooner than later. Why not? Now, one of the biggest reasons why I love this is because this actually suggests that there is a shift in the way WWE views NXT and its call-up system. Typically in the past, it was like guys would stay in NXT forever, wait till they develop, and then decide whether or not they should go to the main roster. And as we have seen with Stephanie Vakir and with Julia and so many of the talents now, we're starting to see them just get immediately moved up. And that means, they might come into NXT, they might have a quick title reign or whatever it may be, but the point is to get them learning the WWE system as fast as possible, understanding how to work hard cam and whatever it may be, and then boom, get them up to Raw or SmackDown. I think this is a smart shift in strategy for WWE because I feel like, especially under the Vince McMahon era, NXT call-ups were largely disappointing. I feel like with Triple H's era, some of them have been really good. Some of them have been decent. What do you think of this? How do you think this kind of changes the game for WWE moving forward?
Like you said, with the Stephanies and the Julias and potentially the Jordan Graces of the world. WWE, they understand that these people already have a history in the pro wrestling business. They probably already have somewhat of a understanding. Now, you have to understand, like, when they talk about this, they're not talking about maybe like the NIL talent or anything like that. Like, they're immediately talking about these people like Stephanie, like Julia, that are just kind of getting pushed up and shoved into the main roster immediately. And I think that is strictly because I obviously, again, having that pro wrestling background. So when I look at it, I think it's fine. Again, the call-ups that we've seen in the past were much worse. We've seen people get changed completely. Carrying Cross, cough, cough. But on top of that, like, I think it's good for the business, right? They're not changing much about the characters. They're pushing them to where they need to go. And it's ultimately making your Mondays and your Fridays much better. So I like it.
Yeah, and one thing too I will say is like with NXT and the call up system, we see a lot of talent who might be coming over from AEW, and some of these talents are coming from AEW to NXT. And I think a lot of times people look at this and they're like, well, they don't need NXT. Well, they have to justify to their shareholders why they have the Performance Center. So when you see Ricky Starks, Ethan Page, Jordan Grace, some of these names that we know are going to have big careers in the WWE, you put them in a small stint in the Performance Center at NXT, and then when you have to justify why you have it, then you say, look how many people we've had working WrestleMania that came from our developmental program, right? It's a nice little trick in the book that WWE has, which is quite exciting. I do want to turn our attention to another news topic. We have the NWA. Today, they've revealed through a press release with Roku that they will be live on, well, not live, but their show will air on Tuesdays, head-to-head with NXT starting in July. Now, this is interesting because about a month ago or so, there was news that NWA was working with the Roku channel for, its tape library and special events and, behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. Now, today, they've revealed starting July 29th, NWA matches will stream for free every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And essentially, the way that it's going to work is it's going to be on US, Canada, and Mexico. And this will be at the same time slot as WWE, NXT on the CW. So now Billy Corgan is putting NWA against NXT, which is interesting. The Roku channel, this is where Roku is starting to do more with the television. It's not just software on a TV or a Roku stick, but now they're developing more content for their hub. What do you make of NWA challenging NXT head to head on Tuesday nights?
Okay, I mean, we got to be serious, dude. We have to look at this for what it is, right? NWA challenging NXT. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Is not going to affect NXT at all. Um, but when I think about it, I mean, hey, it gives more options, right? And if maybe you're not a WWE fan and maybe you're an NWA fan, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to go watch NWA, go watch it because now you have the opportunity to. So ultimately, it's good for NWA. Does absolutely nothing for WWE. It's not going to affect them any. I think the people that watch NWA watch NWA, and the people that watch NXT watch NXT. Very simple. Don't got to think about that one too much. Yeah, man. Not affecting them at all.
Yeah, this definitely has no effect on NXT whatsoever. But what I will say is this, Billy, because this is an interesting part of it all. WWE is working with NWA. We just saw, with Natty Neidhart
Mm-hmm.
working
Yep.
under the NWA umbrella. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think this is. I don't think this is a matter of NWA trying to compete with WWE head to head and try to damage them. But I also think, they can't do Monday nights, they can't do Wednesday nights, and they sure as hell can't do Friday nights. Like there's wrestling every day, and technically they
I
can do.
know, man.
They can technically do Thursday nights, but it doesn't really make that much sense for them to do so, especially with rumors of Collision moving to Thursdays. So I don't mind them doing the Tuesday. You know, they were doing Tuesdays at 6:05 on X. I think this is just
Mhm.
a better opportunity for NWA to have a little bit more exposure. And there's also no excuse for people to not be able to watch it because it's free. So just like
Right.
how you could watch NXT for free on the CW, you can also watch NWA for free on this channel. So to me personally, I just think it's cool that NWA is getting a better opportunity. Of course, this is a streaming deal, and I would
Mhm.
like to see them. I would like to see them obtain a better TV deal in general. But from going on YouTube to Twitter, now they're going to at least a streaming provider. I think is a good sign for NWA. Billy Corgan's got a lot of work ahead of him. So what I would actually like to see, and we'll move on, but one thing I would like to see is, hey, you're kind of working with WWE in general. Why not have a little bit of crossover between NWA and NXT? And because you're on the same night, it actually allows for, to make sense of it with your pre-tape. So that is something I would like to see. But it is something definitely worth discussing because NWA is in fact going head to head with NXT, and that's not going to change.
Nope. It is
With
what it is, man.
with that being said, our final topic that we're going to discuss before we review Raw, Tegan Knox is apparently not signing with AEW, and this is interesting because a lot of times wrestlers get released from WWE, and the immediate consensus online is that they're going to AEW. Nixon Newell, aka Tegan Knox. I'm gonna keep referring her to as Tegan Knox because that's just the way I know her, right? But she was basically doing an interview with the Wrestling in the Middle podcast, and she was talking about her desire to join AEW. She says, I would love to go there. There's so many people there that I want to wrestle, that I really want to tangle with. Tony Storm, I wrestled Tony many years on the indies. So I'd like to, revisit that. There's just a lot of women there that I would revisit. She was saying that her enthusiasm for AEW has actually kind of been tempered with based on the perception of AEW's interest in her. So she says, I am more than willing to join AEW and to talk about that stuff. As far as I know, I don't think there's an interest from them, which is a shame, but I would love to go there. There has been this belief by AEW, by the way, that I just kind of want to throw out there. There has been this belief by AEW that they're not necessarily going after former WWE talent anymore. And I think this is largely due to the fact that people leave, they lose their jobs with WWE, they come into AEW with the hopes of going back to WWE, and then you have a situation where Malachi, Rusev, Saints, all these guys, all these talents don't end up getting utilized anymore because it becomes well known that they're not trying to be there anymore. So I do think Tony Khan has actually been a little bit smarter about who he signs. And this is why we're seeing, Alex Windsor from the independent scene in the UK, like she's joining the company. We see Megan Bain. We see, Mina Shirakawa, Speedball Mike Bailey. I feel like they're going for more of those indie talents who didn't get the opportunity to work for WWE, which I'll praise AEW. I think this is the right strategy, currently speaking. So I don't blame them. But what do you make of it when Tegan Knox, she comes from that indie background, she has that style that AEW is looking for. What do you make of it when she says that AEW is not necessarily interested?
Well, obviously, number one, it sucks for Tegan Knox. Obviously, she's looking for employment. She's gonna want to go work. But I want to actually praise AEW here. That just means that they've listened. You know, for a long time, people said, "Hey, you have such a big roster. Don't go out and sign every single person." It's the same story as somebody like Cedric Alexander. Yes, they could have signed Cedric Alexander, but we said it, yesterday. At the end of the day, he just would have been another person that was on that roster. So I think good for AEW. As a business, you have to look at this in a sense of not all your money is good money. So not every dollar that you spend is good, right? And just because you see somebody and you're looking and from the outside looking in, hey, you might fit here, doesn't actually mean that they'll fit. A person that comes to mind, is Deonna Purrazzo, who has obviously just kind of been pushed to the side, hasn't really been able to do anything on TV and whatnot. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm actually going to praise AEW here and say, hey, good for you guys, watching where you spend your money, understanding that not everybody is going to fit maybe that AEW mold that you're trying to build. So good for them. I'm not against it. And Tegan, she'll be fine. I just want to preface that she will. I mean, she'll wrestle on the indies. She'll make a career out of this if that's what she continues to do. She'll get booked in numerous places. So trust me, she'll be okay.
Well, one thing too that I think really needs to be said is people need to look at the talent pool and then also realize TNA exists. And it's a good thing that TNA exists, and it's a good thing that people have gone to TNA. Right now, TNA's Knockouts division has been butchered by WWE and AEW, right? Both of those companies are taking their top women, and TNA is finding a way to make their Knockouts division interesting again. Right now, I don't know what it is, but they have this like huge initiative with UK talent. Tegan Knox, she fits. She could go to TNA and show the world exactly why they messed up on not bringing her in. But yeah, I don't blame AEW at all. And quite frankly, I think this is one of those things where she's kind of been talking about a severe lack of bookings, right? And this is something that's been publicly said by her. But if you're not getting a lot of bookings, I think part of that is you have to be active on social media, but you have to do something to drum up some interest. And if you're Tegan Knox, maybe that those calls aren't coming in as frequently, but you are incredibly talented. So when you get, she just did a show in Attack Wrestling, like make sure you're taking advantage of that with the content and the clips and look at what Indy Hartwell is doing. She's been very active with vlogging and social media and content creation, where now she's in TNA. Like that same opportunity could be afforded to her. So it's not AEW's fault. They can't sign everybody. There is such a large talent pool. I would love to see more talent entertain the idea of TNA. But nonetheless, I think this is relatively huge for AEW not to bring her in, because AEW has been improving their women's division. So I am a little bit shocked, but I will give them their props for not necessarily, jumping all over it. So that's kind of why I say that. But with that being said, if you guys want more videos and more live streams like this, make sure you guys click that subscribe button.